What's up guys, Enkiri here, and welcome to vlog number 102. And I got a pretty solid workout for you guys today, so let's jump right into it. Now we kick things off here with some overhead pin presses, done from just about clavicle height, and then after that we finish the session off with some volume work on the Larsen press, which I had paired up with a little bit of strict curl volume work as well. So kicking it off with the pin press here, I'm using 170 pounds for these, and I was just knocking out some singles with it, with roughly 45 to 60 seconds in between reps here, and I end up doing 14 total reps with 170 pounds, and then I finish it off by doing the 15th and final rep with 180 pounds, just to feel something a little bit heavier. The reps with 170 were all pretty solid. Now some of them were better than others, obviously, but they were all pretty easy for the most part. The last rep with 180 pounds was kinda shitty though. The fatigue must have been setting in pretty good at that point, so even that relatively small jump in weight ended up being enough to make the rep really a lot harder for me. And you'll see when we get to it that the bar kinda ends up getting away from me a little bit, but regardless, that's still the most that I've ever tried to do on this particular exercise, so that's not too shabby after putting in all those reps with 170 pounds beforehand. Now, if you've been following my vlogs for a little while, then you'll probably remember that I had been doing these pin presses for a few months where I was working in repeat sets of 3 to 5 reps, and I think that I had tripled this weight a few times during those sessions. I know I had done a 5x3 with 172.5 pounds on the regular overhead press, but I think that I had also worked up to doing triples with at least 170 on this exercise as well. If not, it was something like 165 or 167.5 pounds. But regardless, the point being that this is a pretty repable weight for me on this exercise. But so what I wanted to try to do here was just do a bunch of singles only, because one thing that I started to notice was that when I was working off the pins like this, even if I let the bar come to a complete dead stop in between reps, which I always do, and deload the tension from the weight off of my body for a few seconds like I always do, and then also wait for a few seconds between reps, the second rep would still always be easier than the first rep. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact that it's hard to find the right position to start the press from when you're not actually supporting the weight. So the first rep always ends up being kind of iffy. But after that, the path has already been paved for you. And so it always feels easier for the second rep and the third rep. And honestly, there may even be some stretch reflex left over that's also contributing to that. But either way, I wanted to see if just doing singles instead with just a brief rest period in between reps would be a better suited style for this particular exercise. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I only maintained this rep scheme here for a few weeks, and then I cut it out of the program because I felt like I wasn't getting anything out of it. Oddly enough, I felt like I had actually been getting more out of the exercise when I was doing it for reps with a full recovery in between sets instead of just doing these singles. So for me, that hypothesis that I had ended up proving to be incorrect, which is perfectly fine. We can't be right all the time. So like I said, I cut the exercise out for the time being, and at this point I put some focus back onto weighted dips and regular overhead presses for volume, and I'm going to be working those for a little while. But I'm sure that I'll bring this exercise back into the rotation soon enough because I do actually find it to be pretty enjoyable. Anyway though, moving on to the Larsen press and the strict curls, as you can see I was using 175 pounds for the presses and 95 pounds for the curls, and I was just knocking out some repeat sets of 10 on both exercises. The Larsen presses are just me continuing on with my same slow progression that I've been using for a few months now. I'm just working a slightly heavier day once a week where I try to do a 5x5, and then I've got this volume session here where I'm doing 4 or 5 sets of 8 to 10 reps. So here, this was the third week in a row using 175 pounds, and so my goal for this session was to complete the full 5x10 with it. And I have to say, that shit really starts to catch up with you. There's a big difference between getting 5.8s or 5.9s with a weight versus getting 5.10s with it. At that point, by the time you get to the third or the fourth or even the fifth set, the fatigue is just really starting to catch up with you. And at some point, your muscles just kind of run at of juice. This was good work though. The 5th set was pretty tough, but I'm happy with the work here overall. The curls were also solid, and this is new territory for me on these. I've never really done curls this consistently before until these past few months, because it's just honestly impossible to really keep track of your progress on freestanding curls, or even really just be able to keep enough variables out of the mix to actually work the exercise sufficiently to make true progress on it. You don't even know if your arms have actually gotten stronger or if you're just swinging the weight more. And I had only really learned about the strict curl a few years ago, so at this point I figured I'd finally give it a go here just for the hell of it. And I've really enjoyed it so far. I've gotten up to over 100 pounds now for sets of 8 to 10 clean reps, and I think that my arms are substantially stronger now than they have been in the past, and I think that the muscle gains in that area kind of speak for themselves. And at this point, I kind of feel like this is really the only curl variation that's worth doing, especially if strength gains are your goal. But anyway, I think that's all I got for today, guys. Just another solid day in the books. And other than that, I've been working pretty hard on those program templates that I was telling you guys about before. I've got my 16-week novice template pretty much completed at this point, and I'm almost done with the intermediate template as well, which is also 16 weeks. I've also got plans for like 4 or 5 more of these as well. But before I release any of them, I want to put together a vertical jump program, which I'm thinking is going to be a multi-phase program, probably 3 different distinct phases. That's probably like 18 to 20 weeks in total. And I also want to put together a kind of a late intermediate, maybe early advanced template. I hesitate to use the term advanced because advanced people already know how to train themselves. But whatever, that template will complement my standard intermediate template. So the first one will use a standard linear progression, and then the second one will be for people who are a little bit more advanced, and that'll use a slightly more auto-regulated approach with ramp-up sets, which is one of my favorite progression methods to use, but you kind of have to have a good sense of your own body to be able to make use of it appropriately. And so I want to release those 4 at the same time so that people who are interested in buying one of the templates have plenty of options to kind of find what best suits their needs. Anyway, that's all I got, guys. Please be sure to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and definitely leave me some love in the comments down below. Keep training hard, and I will catch you guys next time.